Hello dear student, myself Mrs. Usha Lodawat, faculty from Ferguson College. In last lecture, we have studied about the moment of inertia and radius of gyration. Now in today's lecture, we are going to learn about the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axes. Move to PowerPoint presentation. Now, again, before going to this parallel and perpendicular axis theorem, we will see why it is necessary to study these two theorems. Now, we know that moment of inertia of a body about an axis of rotation, we can find if the axis of rotation is passing through the. Now, again here we will see in brief why we are going to study about the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axes. Now in previous lecture we have studied how to find out the moment of inertia of a body when the axis of rotation is passing through the point of the symmetry. Now it is not necessary that the axis of rotation should always pass through the point of symmetry. Consider a rod. This rod can also rotate about an axis passing through the end of the rod. Then how we can find out the moment of inertia of this rod? We have to consider one more parallel axis which is passing through the point of symmetry. Now here we are going to study use the parallel axis theorem. Now you can take the example of a disc can also rotate about an axis which is coinciding to its diameter. Now for finding out the moment of inertia about this diameter, we have to consider again a perpendicular axis which is perpendicular to this diameter and passing through the point of symmetry. So for this purpose, if the axis of rotation is not passing through the point of symmetry, then we have to use theorem of parallel and perpendicular axes for finding out the moment of inertia of that about that axis of rotation. Now first we will see what is the parallel axis theorem. Now in both these theorem we will consider body of irregular shape. Now consider this is the rigid body. Okay. Now this body is composed of a infinite number of smaller particles having the mass dm, and this body is rotating, suppose about an axis passing through the point O, that is axis MOP. Okay, now consider one such mass which is situated at point D. Okay, now this body is consisting of a two axes. Okay, so one axis is parallel to this axis and passing through the center of mass. Now first of all we will find what is the moment of inertia of this point mass about an axis, that is ACB. So according to the definition of the moment of inertia, this equation will become IC equal to integration of dc square into dm, because this point mass is situated at a distance of dc. So at the moment of inertia is the product of mass and square of its distance from the axis of rotation. I can take IC equal to integration of dc square into dm. Again, as the body is composed of infinite number of the smaller tiny particle, we have to take here integration sign. In similar way, we can find out the moment of inertia of this tiny mass about an axis of rotation passing through the point O. Now, this axis of rotation is situated at a distance of dO from this point mass dm. So I can write down the moment of inertia about an axis passing through the O is IO equal to integration of dO square into dm. Again, from this triangle, that is, you can see that what is this dO square? What is the dO square? Consider this triangle OCD. So, this dO square will be equal to what? dn square plus cd square. I have to consider this smaller triangle CND. Then, according to the Pythagoras theorem, this dO square will be equal to this dn square plus this no square into dm. Okay, now I can simplify this term. dn square will be equal to this nc plus oc square, because this no will be equal to what is this oc plus nc square. So I can write down no square will be equal to nc plus oc square into bracket dm. Now again this I will simplify this equation. So dn square will plus nc square plus 2nc into co plus co square into whole bracket into dm. Now what is this dn square plus nc square? This dn square plus nc square will be equal to what? dc square. So I will write it is equal to dc square, which is again 2nc into h. Okay, so this 2nc into h. Here the CO is the distance between the two parallel axes, which is h. So I am writing here h. Again this CO square means what? H square. So I will write here h square into whole bracket into dm. Now I will separate the term. So this is the integration of dc square into dm plus here 2h I am taking as constant, because 2 is constant. Also the distance between the two parallel axes will remain constant. So 2h into integration of nc into dm plus this h square into dm. Now we know what is this dc square into dm. It is moment of inertia about an axis passing through the point O, that is IO. So dc square into dm will be equal to, it is equal to IC, the moment of inertia about an axis passing through the point C, that is center of mass. So integration of dc square into dm equal to IC. And what is the integration of dm? That is the small, tiny mass of tiny particle. If I am integrating this mass of tiny particle, we will get whole mass of the body, that is capital M. Again in this equation, I will substitute integration of nc into dm as 0. This nc into dm as 0. Why? Because you know that moments of all the particle about an axis of rotation which is passing through the center of mass will always be equal to 0 when the body is in equilibrium. So this term will become 0. So this whole term will become 0. So I can write down this equation as integration of nc into dm equal to 0. So this equation will become I0 equal to IC plus mh square. Now why this is taken as 0? Just I have told you the same thing is written here as algebraic sum of moments of all particle about the center of mass is always 0 for the body in equilibrium. So we can write down this integration of nc into dm will be equal to 0, or equation will become I0 will be equal to IC plus mh square. Now from this equation we can write down the statement of this moment of inertia. So moment of inertia I0 of an object about any axis is the sum of moment of inertia, that is IC, about an axis parallel to the given axis and passing through the center of mass, and the product of mass of the body and square of distance between the two parallel axes. So this is the statement of the parallel axis theorem. So I will revise it again. The moment of inertia of an object about any axis is the sum of its moment of inertia about an axis parallel to the given axis and passing through the center of mass, and the product of mass of the object and the square of the distance between the two axes, that is square of the distance between the two parallel axes. So this is the this is the theorem of parallel axes. After that we will see what is the theorem of perpendicular axis. Now, while studying the theorem of perpendicular axis, again we have to consider this is the rigid body, but this body is the laminar body. Laminar body means what? Very thin body like a sheet of mica. So, this is the laminar body. Now, the two axes, they are in the plane of laminar body. So the x and y axes are laminar body. Now to find out the moment of inertia about these axes, we have to consider one more z axis which is perpendicular to this laminar body, which is in the outward direction and perpendicular to the laminar body and cuts the laminar body at the point O. So this point O is the point of intersection of the axes. Okay, so these two axes are perpendicular to each other and in the plane of laminar body, whereas this z axis is perpendicular to the laminar body in the outward direction, which cuts the body at point O. This O will be the intersection point of the laminar body. Now, this x-axis is at a distance of y from the mass dm. So again we are considering that this body is composed of a large number of tiny particles, each of mass dm. Consider one such mass dm is situated at point P. Now, this x-axis is at a distance of y from this mass dm. Means what? This line and this y-axis are parallel to each other. So, I can take this x-axis is at a distance of y from the mass dm. Similarly, y-axis is at a distance of x from this mass dm, because this line and this line, they are parallel. So this x-axis and this line, they are as it is parallel. I can write down here as the x. So y-axis is at a distance of x from this point mass dm, and z-axis is at a distance of OP from this mass dm. Now we will find out what is the moment of inertia about the x-axis, about the y-axis and about the z-axis. Now what is the moment of inertia about the x-axis? See here, Ix will be equal to what? Y integration of y square into dm, because according to the definition of moment of inertia, it is equal to, this moment of inertia is equal to product of this mass and square of this mass from the axis of rotation. So Ix will be equal to this dm into y square or y square into dm. Similarly, what is the moment of inertia about y-axis? Iy equal to this x square into this mass dm. What is the moment of inertia about z-axis? It is OP square into dm. Now again you can consider this triangle, that is OMP or OPN, any triangle. To any triangle, apply the Pythagoras theorem. Suppose I am considering this triangle ONP. Now in this triangle, this OP square will be equal to ON square plus PN square. Now what is this ON square? It is equal to Y square, because this ON is parallel to this Y axis. So I can write down here as the Y. Now what is the distance PN, which is equal to X, as it is parallel to the X axis? So I can write down it is Y square plus X square. Now so I can write down this IZ equal to Y square plus X square into dm, because in this OP square dm I have substituted the value Y square plus X square. So moment of inertia about the Z axis is integration of Y square plus X square into dm. So I can separate the term. Iz is equal to integration of Y square into dm plus integration of X square into dm. So that now this Y square into dm is the moment of inertia about the X axis, and X square dm is the moment of inertia about the Y axis. So Iz equal to Ix plus Iy. Now according to this equation, I can write down the statement of the moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia Iz of a laminar object about an axis Z perpendicular to the plane is sum of its moment of inertia about two mutually perpendicular axes X and Y in its plane, then all the three axes being concurrent. Or again I will revise, the moment of inertia of a laminar object about an axis perpendicular to the plane is the sum of its moment of inertia about two mutually perpendicular axes in its plane, all the three axes being concurrent. Okay, so this is all thing about the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axis. Now why again I will revise why it is necessary to study the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axis, because if the axis of rotation does not passing through the point of symmetry, then without this theorem of parallel and perpendicular axis we can't find out the moment of inertia. So for this purpose we have to consider the one more axis which are parallel to the axis which is not passing through the point of symmetry, or perpendicular to the axis which is not passing through the point of symmetry, and this parallel and perpendicular axis which we are considering here should always pass through the point of symmetry. Then we can find out the equation, then we can find out the moment of inertia about that axis which is not passing through the point of symmetry by using the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axis. Now our next article is angular momentum, or it is also known as moment of linear momentum. Now you know in translational motion linear momentum, okay, about the linear momentum. So this linear momentum is analogous quantity to the angular momentum, or here we will study how this angular momentum in rotational motion is analogous to the linear momentum in the translational motion. Okay, so here we are going to study about the angular momentum or which is also known as the moment of linear momentum, and which is analogous to the linear momentum in the translational motion. And again in this we will study what is the law of conservation of angular momentum, which is analogous to the law of conservation of linear momentum. What is the law of conservation of linear momentum? If there is no external force acting on a body, then the linear momentum of the interacting system will remain constant. Similar law here we have to find out by using the in this equation, in this part. Okay. Hello dear student, in this lecture we have seen how we have seen the theorem of parallel and perpendicular axis, and we also seen that how it is necessary to study these two theorems, because the moment of inertia about an axis of rotation passing through the point of symmetry can be found by using the earlier statement in earlier discussion. But it is not necessary that the axis of rotation should always be the axis of symmetry, means it is not necessary that it always passes through the point of symmetry. Now suppose we can take the example of a rod. Just I will revising again. So this rod can also rotate about an axis of rotation which is passing through one end of this rod. Then to find out the moment of inertia about this rod, we have to consider one more axis which is parallel to this axis and passing through the point of symmetry. Then by using the theorem of parallel axis, we can find out here the moment of inertia. Again we can take the example of a disc. This disc can rotate about an axis which is coinciding with the diameter. Then to find out the moment of inertia of this about this axis, we have to consider one axis which is perpendicular to this diameter and passing through the point of symmetry. And here by using a perpendicular axis theorem, we can find out the moment of inertia about an axis which is coinciding with the diameter. Okay, so this is all thing about the parallel and perpendicular axis theorem. So now in next lecture we are going to learn about the angular momentum and law of conservation of angular momentum, how this angular momentum is analogous to the linear momentum in linear motion. Thank you.